All stations, this is Sailing Trilleen.
I'm Ian Wiley. Join me in my disability sailing adventure as I circumnavigate the UK and Ireland solo over 2 seasons. I'm raising funds for the Andrew Castle Foundation, the sailing charity helping disabled sailors reach maximum independence on the water. Join me on this voyage in pursuit of hope, equality and recovery. Trilleen this week got recommissioned. Systems from gas, water, heat and electricity all coming back online, stores being brought aboard, and she begins the transition back to being a sailboat from a refit wreck, with boom and mainsail going on and new fittings for the boom end finalised. Good morning and welcome to Sailing Trilleen from her land base at the moment. I am late setting off for the boat this morning because I've had a whole series of letters to write, some about medical and some about insurance. And now I have to go and get some prescriptions filled in order to allow me to keep sailing successfully. Trilleen is back in her element and I have dirty glasses. Trilleen is back in her element, floating in Inverness Marina. It's wonderful to have the boat back afloat. It just feels so much better already. The process today has been really to start getting some of the systems back online. So got the water tank filled and the hot water system pressurised. That means that we've got heating back, so we've got lovely warm air blowing into the boat at the moment, which is what the fan noise you can hear. And then there's a general process of tidying up as we convert the boat from a complete wreck to a working sailboat again. And the good news is that we have heat, light, engine, water, all sorted. So they're all running and doing what they need to do. To be fair, the engine does need its filters changed and its oil filter changed, but so that's fuel filters and oil filters, but that has to be done anyway, and it needs a new impeller, but it is starting, running and being consistent, so that's great. Tomorrow I'll be working on getting the boom back up onto the mast and this boat looking a bit more like a authentic sailboat as opposed to the sort of de-rigged thing that it is now. Part of the work tomorrow on the boom will be to arrange a new fixing system for the main sheet, which as you may remember from many videos ago last year was proving somewhat unsatisfactory and giving me some concern. The boom end rebuild involved grinding the end fixing off. I normally resist aggressive machining like this, especially when it's held between feet or in hand, but here the stainless steel bolts were immovably fixed in the aluminium casting. This is a common consequence of electrochemical, galvanic if you prefer, corrosion between the metals in the presence of seawater, which is something of a curse on sailboats. Then, after removing the residue of the pop rivets, which had originally held the end casting onto the boom, I cut threads into that casting and through the boom itself, so that the end plug would now be held in with Allen head socket cap bolts that offer a prospect of removal in the future, if necessary, especially after the bolts were liberally smeared with Tef gel, an aviation product that is intended to stop electrochemical corrosion. In this new iteration, the main sheet will be held on with high modulus sling wrapped round the boom end. This should prove a safer and more sustainable attachment point than a dodgy piece of stainless steel strip hanging off the end of the boom. Sailing Trilleen round Britain and Ireland is raising funds for the Andrew Castle Foundation, the sailing charity helping disabled people reach maximum independence on the water. Could you help them mentor and develop more disabled people? Please consider donating to my crowdfunder, 100% of which goes directly to the foundation. I know that times are tough right now, but every gift, however small, helps. Let's help more disabled people achieve the fantastic results I have. So today the operations have been to get the mainsail and stack pack back onto the boom. That's not that straightforward to do on your own, and I've developed a number of tricks to make it easier. I think if you didn't have mobility difficulties and you had a sail as small as Trilleen, it probably wouldn't be too tricky. But for me, moving around the boat in sort of rapid ways can lead to falling over. So I need to arrange for that not to be a problem. And one of my solutions is that I suspend the mainsail in a sling in front of the boom so that I can draw it into the foot channel of the boom as I go along, without having to run backwards and forwards to the front of the boom, because I find that really hard work. So Trilleen has a foot-in mainsail like most old-fashioned boats, and so the mainsail goes in on top of the stack pack, and getting that to start off properly is quite tricky. However, it all went okay, and the mainsail went on beautifully, and the stack pack was all in beautifully. Now, here's the confession point. Those of you who are sailmakers or who were watching closely might have noticed that, in fact, the time I filmed this, the stack pack was upside down. So that was great, because then I had to take it all off again, and I didn't film that because I was at that point somewhat depressed. Anyway, now it's the right way up and it's all good, so that's great.
Provisioning and storing ship involves a lot of preparatory work. Trilleen isn't equipped with a fridge, and shopping isn't the easiest for me with leg splints and wheelchair involvement for distance. So I tried to store her for 90 days with ambient storage foods like cans. All of these have to be relabelled with permanent marker and have their labels removed, because in the wet and with the cans rubbing against each other, the labels can come off and block pumps and drain holes, something which can be positively dangerous. The other thing that I discovered last season was that I'd been perhaps a little bit military in my provisioning, and the choice was less than I wanted, so this year there's a lot more different products in smaller quantities. This season has also seen a lot of driving backwards and forwards between a land base, for which I've been incredibly grateful, and Trilleen, something of which I'm now heartily sick. The A96 is the main east-west road between Inverness and Aberdeen, and especially at this time of year it's a tractor racetrack, which is a measure of the immensely fertile Lake of Moray, where potatoes, carrots, barley and wheat all grow in profusion. The other thing that happens is many treks back and forward from the car park to the boat, up the gangway or brow, which can be incredibly steep at low water. In addition, there are many visits to shops, not only to buy boxes and other things to store food in, but also for picking up medical supplies and prescriptions. That's all I have for you this week. Please do share the video around if you feel able. It all helps to spread the story and to help more people know what's possible for disabled sailors. And if you can, I greatly appreciate donations to the Andrew Castle Foundation via my crowdfunder. Thank you.
Sailing Trilleen. Out.